Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this Works Committee meeting to order, and we're going to start with the roll call. So we have quorum, which is great news. Going to go with declarations of interest. Seeing and hearing none. Next, we've got an announcement. If you could hit your mic, your request to speak button. We're going to go off the agenda a little bit. Excellent. Councilor McDougall, you have an announcement. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you for allowing a non-member of this committee to speak, Your Worship. I would like to announce for all my fellow engineers and non-engineers out there that March is National Engineering Month, and March 1st was PEng Day. So I'd like to thank all the fellow engineers that work at the region of Durham and around the rest of Durham, as we have many, many engineers in Durham, and they do a great, wonderful job. So thank you, and I hope you join them all in celebrating National Engineering Month.
Hey, thank you very much.
No dry jokes, Barton.
No, again, and thanks for that. And in all seriousness, on a morning like this, when we've had record snowfalls and it's pouring rain, it's nice to know that somebody engineered this to make sure that we have a limited amount of flooding on a day like this. So again, thanks to all the teams that make sure that we're safe on the roads on mornings like this. Thank you. All right, next we've got an engineer, Andrew Evans. Sorry, I got corrected. Minutes from February the 5th. Can I get a mover? Okay, and seconded by Linda. All in favor? That's carried. And now we're going to go with Andrew, and we're talking about the automated cart. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you and good morning, members of committee and chair and guests today. I'll keep my introductory remarks fairly brief before I turn it over to Peter. But we're happy to present the results of the automated cart collection pilot in Durham Region today. This is something we've been watching, sort of the technology develop, the labor market change for the last number of years. I think, Peter, it's been close to 20 years since your first pilot on this technology. And happy to see where things have developed to the point that we can bring this forward today. It's a really multifaceted project, and there's a lot of aspects to this, financial, health and safety, diversity, and service level. So please bear with us through the presentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions at the conclusion.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you for the opportunity to present on this topic. It has been a number of years coming. As you all remember, probably during COVID, we had a real labor shortage, and it was all we could do to actually keep garbage and recycling organics collected. We pretty much had to put leaf and yard waste collection on hold because we didn't have enough staff to do the whole collection. So that really is what brought this to a precipice, and we've got some opportunities with new contracts coming up to make a change that to really address the sustainability of the service. Today's presentation will pretty much follow the flow of the report. We'll talk about what is automated collection, talk about some of its benefits, talk about the pilot project results, some of the financial implications of implementing cart collection to Durham Region, talk about carts themselves, and talk about recommendations on some next steps. So what is automated collection? As opposed to collecting garbage and organics manually, picking up containers and manually tipping them into collection vehicles, automated collection uses wheeled containers where residents can either put their garbage or their organics, depending on the type of bin, and a robotic arm will come out of the truck, pick up the container and tip it. For the most part, there are semi-automated collection also where the driver will actually come out of the truck, wheel the container to the back of the vehicle, attach it to a tipper, and the mechanical tipper will tip the container into the truck. Under both of these scenarios, the driver will never actually have to manually lift waste or the heavy material into the truck. So it really benefits in terms of health and safety for the drivers in terms of lifting, twisting, and those sorts of injuries. So in 2024, we did conduct a pilot project. We had two collection areas, one in Ajax to represent a rural area, one in Scugog to represent a rural area. Started in July of 2024, and it will end now in April 2025. Some of the initial results are what we were going to be presenting today. And we'll also talk about in the report A growing number of municipalities in Ontario are already moving in this direction to the east and west of us. A good number of them have already moved in this direction, and a significant number of other municipalities will be moving in the direction in the next couple of years. Just a video to show you how the truck works. So as you can see in that movement, the driver never got out of the truck. It was one movement to collect the bin, and the truck's off to the next household. The bin gets put back exactly where it was, and the street stays clean. So I alluded to some of the benefits of automated collection. One is efficiency of labor. So where we normally have now 2 operators per truck, for the most part, automated collection is 1 operator per vehicle. This doesn't mean that we're looking at reducing the number of labor required. It just means that we can allow for the growth of the service with less labor to really address the labor shortages we're getting. What we're seeing in the nowadays new demographic, this is not a job that people want to do. So we're getting really having a lot of difficulties trying to get labor to do this work. In many cases, some of the major contractors in this business are no longer even bidding on manual collection contracts. So moving in this direction also increases competition in this market. It's a faster collection. We found in the urban area in the pilot project an almost 50% increase in collection efficiency, so 50% faster. We saw no net change in the rural area, but that's more because of the long distances between the houses. So when you average that out, we saw about a 30% overall increase in the collection speed. As I mentioned, health and safety is a big factor. Manual collection is typically on the top 10 list of most dangerous jobs anywhere, Ontario, Canada, North America. Strains, sprains, cuts, rotator cuff injuries, and even death. So moving to automated collection really reduces the need for this type of injury, and also not only reduces the injuries, but also in order to make up for the lost time in sickness, you also need extra FTEs to make up for the work. So, for example, when you have 2 operators on a collection vehicle, you really have 3 FTEs, one to make up for that lost time. Reduced health and safety, increased health and safety really reduces that extra need in labor. So it's easier for the drivers. It's also easier for the residents. So instead of taking 3 or 4 or 5 bags or garbage cans to the curb, lifting them, carrying them, and dropping them to the curb 2 or 3 trips, it's really just tipping one cart, walking to the curb, and it's 1 trip. So it's ergonomic. You don't have to bend down, pick something up, just walk it to the curb. So it's a lot more ergonomic for the residents. And because the carts are contained, it reduces general litter also on the streets and makes the street look really clean too with that sort of straight line of a row of carts. So the pilot project, we're almost nearing the end of it. We decided to provide the initial results already anyways because sort of timing. It takes about 2 years to get collection vehicles. Our first contract coming up is in 2028, servicing the townships and Clarington. It takes 2 years to get trucks. That puts us in 2026. Procurement process is about a year, so that puts us in 2025. So that's why we're having the timing of presenting the results now, so we can have council approval if council decides to approve this direction, and gives us time to do a procurement process and implement the process. So in terms of efficiency, I spoke to that already. So we saw an increase in collection efficiency. There were no driver injuries in this pilot project. Residents reported significant reduction in litter. Almost 80% of residents reported that using the carts was faster or equal to garbage. Almost 80% of residents also reported that using the carts was easier than using garbage cans or bags. Over 80% were supported the cart pilot or indifferent to it. We're still getting residents now who actually want to see the pilot project extended, and we're getting neighboring residents actually want to join the pilot project. So we've had to actually tell residents, it's a pilot project, and we won't be adding residents to it. And overall, we saw a 98% participation rate, which is fantastic. So here's a graphic image of what the carts look like. We're proposing 2 cart sizes. One is about the same size as a garbage can, about the same height and width, holds the same amount of bags as a garbage can does. And the other one is a larger one for residents who might need that. And coincidentally, it holds about 4 bags of garbage, which is our garbage limit. So in a cart pilot project, the limit would be 1 large cart. As I alluded to before, one of the major benefits to the operation and what will get us, allow us to get more staff to do this is the reduction in injuries. Our current collection contractor already operates an automated collection program in a neighboring municipality, so we had readily available data on health and safety, which we compared to our data, and typically in our manual collection operation, we see an injury rate of one injury in every 2 trucks. And in that automated collection contract that's existing, it's 1 injury every 50 trucks. And even more significant is the type of injuries that we see. In manual collection, like I said, we see significant injuries, strains, sprains, significant type of injuries. With the automated collection, it's more like an office type of injury. It's carpal tunnel because you're driving using a joystick. It's that type of repetitive motion, but it's not a significant injury. So what does implementing automated collection look like for Durham on a financial basis? Anytime you implement an automated collection program, the big hurdle is the upfront cost of supplying carts to everybody. In this case, we're looking at about $19 million for across the region. We can do that either as a one-time payment or look at amortizing it over the life of the contract. In our procurement, we're proposing to ask the contractor for pricing on both. Paying it up front over the long term is cheaper than amortizing the cost over the life of the contract, but there are 2 ways of doing that. So we estimate about $19 million in the cost of the bins over the 2 collection contracts that servicing the region. We do see the efficiency, the increased efficiency in the collection rates and the reduced labor costs over the life of the contract. And typically these contracts are 7 years because that's how long a truck lasts. So when you amortize the costs over the life of the contract, we estimate over the 7 years of $27 million in savings. So that does offset the initial cost of the carts. And that initial cost really is only in the first contract, because once you have the carts out there, they're already out there. And these carts last 5 to 10 years. There's warranty periods on them. So we anticipate that in future contracts, it's really just a maintenance, replacing broken carts, making claims on warranties, which is a no cost to the region. And we're also recommending for new developments a process where the new development will pay for the carts that gets distributed to those new developments. So cart distribution, as I said, we're already starting with the procurement process. We're looking at collection contracts in townships in Clarington starting in 2028, and then the following contract will be for Ajax and Pickering, which will be in 2030. We recommend that the procurement and the distribution and the supply and maintenance of carts be included in the collection contract. The collection contractors are a lot more, they're set up already and they're a lot more nimble and able to provide this service. So it'll be part of the service that we pay for in the collection contract. And to support this also, we're recommending an extensive communication education program and also a compliance program to help with the participation in the program, and a phased-in approach to allow residents to get used to the program and to come on board with change. So next steps, the recommendation of the report today before you is that we move ahead with implementing automated collection in the next collection contract for townships in Clarington, which starts April 1st, 2028. If approved, we'll then proceed with the next contract for Ajax and Pickering in 2020 and 2030 and make the necessary adjustments to the waste management bylaw. And that's it, short and sweet.
Hey, thank you so much for that message, Peter. Really appreciate it. This seems to be a great direction forward. We're going to start with Mayor Foster.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair, and thank you. Peter, a couple of questions for you. One is, if I'm not mistaken, Toronto charges for the bins different price depending on the size of the bin. Are we anticipating doing anything like that?
Yeah, Toronto has a user pay system for garbage collection, and they put it as a utility on their water bill. At this point, we have no plans to do that.
Okay, and I wonder if we should think, out in Port Hope, of course, as you know, they charge per bag. The thinking being that residences that develop a small amount of garbage should not be subsidizing folks who generate a bunch of garbage. So I'll leave that with you. We've got a couple of years to look at this. Have we considered? Good morning, Andrew. You just popped up on my screen. Have we done? And I think the answer is no. And are we considering doing waste audits before and after? So a concern out of Clarington with the bins is where everything is hidden. We will see a lot of things possibly in the garbage that should not be in the garbage, which would be counter to reducing what's going to the EFW.
So if I could jump in on a couple of those, actually, Mayor Foster. So certainly with the utility model, and they sort of actually tie together, where you're charging for just garbage collection, what you also find is the garbage starts to wind up in the other streams as well. So residents, will go with a smaller bin, and then sneak things into the recycling, sneak things into the green bin. In Durham, we've had great participation from our residents, and we maintain very clean material, even when trying to close its borders to recyclables and that market was reshifting. Our material was so clean that we didn't see any issues with getting that material to market. It was still very desired by the various recyclers. And sort of similar with the audit. So we do complete audits on a regular basis. I believe the last one was presented fall of last year. I can certainly forward you a copy. And we're looking at continuing with the audit program to ensure that material is ending up in the right place. Again, our residents do very well overall, and in comparison to other Ontario residents, and credit to them, and as to how they participate. But certainly we would continue to audit and continue to monitor, including proactive bylaw inspection and those things to course correct where necessary.
Yeah, and Andrew, yeah, the answers all make sense. Thank you for that. But I'm wondering about the audit specifically around the bins versus bags. Again, a before or after to see if, given that bin, I mean, the bins are not rocket science. They've been around for a long time. This program makes a lot of sense to me, but perhaps closer to the time that it's instituted, doing audits of bags versus audits of bin may be instructive. And that, Mr. Chair, is all that I have. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can add, our current program now allows garbage cans, which is just as opaque as a cart. So we already have that in place now, and the bylaw already has a user pay component to any bag over the 4-bag limit as a user pay program. So that would continue. So if anybody has waste over the volume of the cart, they would still continue to have to pay for that. In terms of knowing what is in the cart going forward, we're actively monitoring technologies that will allow us to see what's in a cart as it's getting tipped. So each cart will have a serial number, and we'll have an RFID tag, and each cart will be tagged to the house that it's at. There is technology now that can see what comes out of that cart as it gets tipped into the truck, and that will allow us to use our compliance and our education tools to follow up with residents and compliance as we see trends going forward. So that we will be following up on that, using those opportunities for us and continuing to see what the impact of carts going forward in terms of waste composition looks like compared to our baseline auditing that we currently do.
Great, and Peter, thank you. That's really useful information in terms of the technology. I would suggest, though, that a commitment, if we're doing audits already, a commitment to doing an audit before and after for transparency, pardon the pun, sorry, on that would not be a bad thing. So the public willing, and if I'm reelected next time in 27 prior to this, you may see a motion asking you to please do that. But as a couple of years, great program, great answers, good information. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. Next, we've got Chair Henry.
Thank you and good morning, Chair. The first question is, there's always been a challenge around clear bags because they were on the street. It would not be possible to utilize clear bags and the bins at the same time?
Like I said, with the technology that with cameras and AI technology in a truck, you can see potentially see what's in a bag as it comes out of the cart. You won't be able to see it on the street because carts are opaque. But as the bags come out of the carts into the hopper, potentially the technology to see what's in the bags once they come into the hopper is a possibility.
Through a green garbage bag?
Through an opaque garbage bag.
So we're
You're talking about clear bags? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
through clear bags, yeah. The opaque bags, you won't be able to see what's in them. But a clear bag, you would.
The next question is, the trucks in the wintertime, I imagine they rely upon cameras for positioning. No problems with all the residual reflections off the snow. It's just a regular day. It doesn't matter where.
Our trucks have cameras now. Every truck has 5 cameras on it now, and it's
Okay. Have we given any consideration to, so when the blue boxes first come out, companies advertised on them. Have we looked at any opportunities for a company to advertise on the blue bins?
well, we're not doing blue bins.
Not on the blue bins, but
on the garbage
new bins?
carts and the green carts. We have not had discussions to that. It's on the table. If we're directed to do so, we'll look into it.
And the last part is this is a really excellent report and presentation, so congratulations. But it's going to end shortly. We're going to bring it to council and we're going to endorse it. What's the potential of renegotiating the contract for the existing sites to continue doing the pickup on these bins?
Well, that would be anything's possible. It'd be very expensive because we only got 2 years left in the existing contract. So to change a contract in its last couple of years could be extremely expensive. You're better off waiting the 2 years and getting it done.
If I could clarify, so they're bringing in a truck from another contract, another area at this point, really for just sort of a Friday route. So that would be so doing that long term may cause them some additional challenges. The way we structured our contract is that a pilot project would be done sort of at no cost. So we haven't incurred any cost other than purchasing the bins and some promotion education material to date. We'd probably have to sit down with the contractor and negotiate if we wanted to continue that.
Yeah, just on that point, people are going to continue to use the bins, and the contractors I don't know how they're going to reach in the bottom to grab the last bag.
We'll be collecting the bins at the end of the pilot period.
You're going to collect the bins as well?
Yep.
Chair, maybe this has been such a success, maybe we need to look at how do we continue the program, what the cost would be, and leave the bins. We own the bins, correct?
We own the bins, yes.
Yeah, so maybe if you could give consideration to continuing a program that works well, finding out what the additional costs would be to get us to that next point. I'm sure the residents are appreciating rolling their garbage to the curb versus, and not that residents would put up an argument, but if I had a rolling bin at my house, it would be hard to give it back up. So I'll just leave that with you for a discussion on another day.
But just a thought, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, because I'm thinking the same way you are on this, and maybe even trying to bring contracts forward by working with the service provider on this. What if first let's bring the report forward?
Mhm.
So moved by Chair Henry, seconded by Vice Chair. Good, thank you. All in favor of bringing that forward? That's good. Now let's go with, do you want to give me a friendly amendment to that report?
If it could staff investigate the ability of continuing this program until in those 2 communities as it's currently done until we get the full program in place.
Friendly amendment from me, if you don't mind. Do you want to say continue or possibly expand?
expansion, the CAO saying expansion would be hard, but to investigate, I don't think there would be.
Yeah,
a problem.
that's why I'm saying, and
Yeah.
perhaps, like, to look
So-
at.
So, was the clerk able to capture the combination of the thoughts?
Again, it's scary when you get into the minds of the two individuals here, but
I think the commissioner and the CAO and staff understand the direction of the motion, so.
Yeah.
And that it comes back to this committee first.
is that, okay, do you want to second that amendment? Okay, and then let's vote on the amendment if that works.
Mhm.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? Okay, I don't see any hands in opposition. Okay, that's carried. All right, and then we still have questions, so we won't vote on the full motion until we're through. Next, we've got Linda Cook. Go ahead, Councillor.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, good to see you.
Good. Nice to see you too. Just a couple of quick questions to go back to a couple of things Chair Henry commented on as well that I just wanted clarity on. With the rolling bin and given the amount of snowfall we've had recently, is there any adverse effect for the resident, dragging it down the end of the driveway in the snow? Have you had any commentary or feedback how our recent snowfall may have affected their ability to bring the cart to the curb?
So we have a good thing we had this snowfall, so it gives us a firsthand experience with handling these bins. It becomes a way of managing your property. We all clear a bit of snow for our current setups for garbage cans and garbage bags now, and blue boxes and green bins. So it's no different than that for the carts. Nice thing about the carts is they've got big wheels, so as long as the snow is relatively cleared off, they're very easy to roll over the snow. So it's not a deal breaker.
Okay, wonderful. And in terms of replacement costs, I hear this a lot from residents currently about replacing their blue bins, and we have the program where they can either exchange or pick up a new one if they require more. Would the same type of program be applicable for these larger wheel bins? Would there be an exchange program adopted eventually? And what would be the replacement cost to the resident if they required an additional bin?
So we haven't worked out the replacement cost for if they want an additional bin. But the limit would still be one bin. So if you want an additional one, I don't see why we would entertain that. So the bins do have a warranty period, 5 to 10 years. So the initial ones would be replaced under warranty. After that warranty period, we would replace them in exchange for a broken one, the same program we have now. So if you have a broken bin, we'll exchange it free of charge. We'll actually deliver the replacement bin and take away your broken one right to your door.
That's fantastic. I wish everything came with a 10-year warranty. Could we extend that to a few things at my house? Thank you so much, Andrew and Peter, for your presentation. I think that this is really exciting, and it is a really well-prepared report. Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair Barton.
If I could just add to your question, one comment. We are seeing also, because these bins are larger, typically a little bit more robust, there's also repair options in some cases. So if it's just a wheel that's fallen off or something like that, which is, I think, better than a replacement overall. And that would form, part of our initial contract, and we'd be looking at the model moving forward to see kind of the frequency that happens and how we deal with those service requests.
Okay, so that would then be a resident would put in my wheel has fallen off service type request, and you would come to their house, or they would have to deliver? Or are we working that out?
We would come to the house and do the repair.
Wow, you guys are this is like service level plus here. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you very much. Okay, next we've got Councillor Mackay.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Just a quick question of the theme of the day. Where are we getting the bins from?
That'll be part of the procurement process. So
Okay.
I can answer. I've been looking a little bit. There are manufacturers that have manufacturing facilities within Canada.
Good.
They're also, waste in particular is a fairly continental. So companies that produce both the trucks and the bins often have operations on both sides of the border to deal with local markets. But we would not be, as we're considering it now, we wouldn't be requiring a certain manufacturer of the bins. That would be sort of through the tender process, through the recommended or through the successful service provider.
Okay, so as it turns out, they might be 25% cheaper to buy from Canadian anyway, so.
It's possible, and I think a lot of the bins also have recycled material content in them now too, which is another kind of great story.
Beautiful, thank you.
Great question. Next we've got Mayor Watton. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. Just a couple of questions, and I did reach out to Andrew last evening. So I think it's a fabulous program, but I personally have a driveway that is over a quarter of a mile long, and pushing a cart up the driveway with 4 bags of garbage in it doesn't seem like a very good idea for my residents. And I know there's many other rural residences in Scugog that may have the same situation. The pilot program that was done in Scugog, was it done in real rural areas, or was it done in the urban area of Scugog? Question 1.
The pilot was done in a very rural area in Scugog. Many of the houses also had very long driveways. Our current program already allows for waste collection boxes in rural areas to be put at the foot of the driveways adjacent to the roadside. For the pilot project, we also allowed the carts to be stored there. So in the future, the carts will be allowed to be stored at the junction of the driveway with the street, potentially in a larger waste collection box, something that's pleasant to the eye, as we do with boxes now. So we would address that too.
Okay. And I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to envision how it would work at our house, because on both sides of my driveway, the hills go down. So unless we almost put it on the roads, the side, the roadway, it may be challenging. But my other thought to that, and so we would have the box at the top of the road with the bin inside it, and each pickup day we would bring our garbage up to that, or however that would work. And then we would take the bin out of the container and move it onto the roadside so that it could be picked up. Is that how that would work? Or would because if no one gets out of the truck, I assume we would have to move it from the bin or the structure onto the roadside to be picked up. I'm understanding that correctly?
Yes, and we work with residents to find a suitable location for these location boxes. And as it is now, our drivers don't go into the boxes to pick up the garbage cans and bags anyways. It has to be put at the curb. It'll be the same thing with the cart.
Right.
The cart has to be put at the curb, and the truck would be collected from the curb.
Right, and I understand that, but often my blue box is down the hill when the truck goes, after the truck goes by. But anyway, and that's not a complaint, that's just a reality, and that's just the environment I live in. I just wanted to figure out what that would look like. As I said, I think it's a fabulous program. I do have another question. I think it was on page 8, and you talked about the costs, and I think you talked about realizing 27 million in savings over 7 years. Does that take into consideration, and I'm just curious again, the health and safety costs that we currently incur, and has that been considered in those savings?
So we don't directly
presumably will not have them.
So we don't directly incur any health and safety costs because it's a contracted service, but those costs are rolled up into the price that the contractor puts forward to us. So indirectly we do. So like I said, in a current system, we have a 2-operator truck. So there's 2 FTEs for the truck itself, and then there's a 3rd FTE to cover lost time in health and safety. So it's three FTEs per truck on average. We would see the cost savings from that because we now only have 1 driver per truck for the most part, and a fraction of an FTE to cover any sort of sick time or vacation. But the health and safety aspect of it is significantly reduced, as are the contractor's WSIB claim costs. And that all gets directly into the contract price.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I said, I think it's a terrific program, and sooner is better, as Councillor Cook said Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Next, we've got Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Peter, for the presentation. This, previously, I have to be honest, I haven't heard anything from any residents in Scugog in terms of the program, which to me indicates that they're generally favorable. Otherwise, I would certainly hear. To follow up in terms of some of Mayor Watton's questions, just I was impressed to see that the option exists to use a round standard garbage can, I believe. Is that correct?
No, we put the round garbage can there as a comparative for the sizes. That's not garbage can cannot be used because it doesn't have the sizing and the specifications to be grabbed by a robotic arm. There are specifications for that. That's why we're moving towards a cart. But the smaller size cart is about the size of a garbage can. They're both the same size. They're just designed differently so they can be grasped by the robotic arm.
But just to follow up, the smaller size cart holds about 2 garbage bags?
Correct.
Okay, just asking because the typical means in rural Scugog, if you have a long driveway such as Mayor Watton's, would be you take your garbage cans and bags, you throw them in the back of your pickup, drive them up to the end of the road, and then put them out. And I'm just thinking if you do have 2 heavy garbage bags, it could be difficult to do that. But I guess the other option is to have some kind of box near the road that you then. All right, so that sounds good. Certainly in terms of what I used to hear when I was in the manufacturing end of things, and you'd hear dirty, dull, and dangerous. If you have all 3, then it certainly meets the criteria for automating. And certainly garbage collection definitely meets dirty, dull, and dangerous. So, I mean, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer as to how we get there in the end. And you know, we'll have to work out the how we get our garbage to and from our bins. So thank you. That sounds good. Thanks. That's all.
Hey, thank you very much for that. Just a couple from me, if you don't mind. First of all, let's just think about look and feel of these bins when we do it. Most of these are going to end up outside garages, so they're going to be outside all the time. So, be nice if they disappeared, so you don't notice them as much. So bright green or bright orange is probably not the best coloring. I'm all about aesthetics. That's why I look like this. Next. Just from a health and safety perspective, the other thing I really like about this program is because the drivers won't be getting out of the trucks as often, they'll probably be wearing safety equipment. They're going to most likely be wearing their seatbelts. I had a friend pass away driving a recycling truck. So this matters, right? If this keeps more people safe, that helps.
Yeah, so as Peter alluded to, typically when you look at North American data, waste collections does fall within kind of the category of one of the top 10. Most recent data for 2023, I think we were top 5. Definitely not something we're after. And the most common fatality is essentially driver versus own truck. So whether the truck hasn't completely stopped moving before they get off, or rollovers are another major issue.
Yeah.
In addition, certainly we've taken out the graphic pictures, but significant cuts, needle sticks, things like that these workers are facing every day. Happy to reduce their exposure to that as best we can.
Yep. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Another one, just especially, I know we use these in the city of Toronto. Raccoons, bear, things like that. These are a little bit better from an animal perspective.
So depending on how the latching mechanism is, and we did put out some, you'll see in the report, some, they call them gravity locks. So essentially because so the green bins right now, you can get the locks that have to be manually adjusted. Because you're dealing with the automated, there are some gravity lock options.
Yeah.
And we are looking at that, how we would roll that out probably on a voluntary basis. There is a cost. And then just seeing, I know as we were with the pilot, there was some on and off challenges with them through the winter, I believe.
Yeah, but there more and more it's becoming a routine aspect of these bins, especially on the organic size, to have bins with locking lids and gravity locks. So you can have the lid locked all the time, take the bin to the curb, leave it locked, and as the truck tips the bin, the mechanism inside unlocks the lid, and the lid opens up when it's tipped upside down.
But I would say it won't resist a bear.
Not much does.
Yeah,
No.
not a bear.
Okay, again, this great step forward from my perspective, the sooner the better. So if we could find a way to open up contracts that doesn't hurt from a financial perspective, I'm game. Okay, thank you so much. There's no more hands. Thank you for a great report, great presentation. Peter, Andrew, we appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Oh, yeah, thanks. And we have a mover and a seconder for the report. Motion to all in favor. Thanks. And that's carried. Thanks, folks. Okay, next we have, just a second, I have to go back a bit. We have a delegation from Claire Malcolmson in regards to salt pollution, especially in Lake Simcoe. Go ahead, Claire. I don't see your hand. If you want to push, we see your presentation. There we go. Then I will hit a button.
Can you hear me
we
now?
Hear you. Thank you so much.
You can hear me now?
We can. Thank you, Claire.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Chair Barton, and to the Durham Works Committee for hearing me here. I'm here on behalf of the Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition, which includes some residents from Durham. And my job is that I'm the executive director of the Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition. And as you know, Durham has some Lake Simcoe watershed in its boundaries. So next slide, please. Our group is made up of about 12 different community groups from Niagara to Sudbury, who are all concerned about the impacts of salt pollution on our waters across Ontario. And I just wanted to start my presentation by making clear what it is that we're trying to achieve here. So all we're asking this committee, as we asked DCAC and the Community Growth and Economic Development Committee, is to support this resolution, which is asking the province of Ontario to work with key stakeholders to develop limited liability legislation. And I'll explain this in a minute. Including enforceable contractor training and a single set of provincially endorsed best management practices for the snow and ice management sector, and to urge the province of Ontario to create and fund an expert stakeholder advisory committee to advise the province and municipalities on the best course of action to protect freshwater ecosystems and drinking water from the impacts of salt pollution. And then finally, a very high level Durham region, we would like to see Durham region commit to reducing the use of road salt as much as possible. But to be clear, that is really not the focus of the work that we're doing. This is a small campaign with very limited funding. We don't have the resources to dig into every single municipality. We think this is a provincial issue. We're trying to get the province to work on this. And we think there's quite a lot of reason to hope that they will. And I will explain all this as quickly as I can. Next slide, please. So the reason that we have concerns about salt, well, I'll start with Lake Simcoe. So Lake Simcoe is sort of the poster child for what not to do. Oh, Lake Simcoe watershed is behind me, by the way. It's my prop piece of art. So chloride in Lake Simcoe is just going up, and actually the rate of increase of salt pollution is increasing. So by the time my children will have children, if the trend continues, the salt will be at the chronic guideline for the entire lake. Very bad. That is the level at which we know that aquatic life is affected. Next slide, please. So that information, by the way, comes from the Ministry of the Environment. This slide is based on a Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority report from 2015 that identifies that at full build out, meaning all the development that was planned in 2015, for 2031, we should estimate that we've pretty much done that, this is what the Lake Simcoe watershed looks like in terms of salt pollution. So what you're looking at there is everything below the bright green, like physically lower on that list. So bright green, blue, purple, pink, red, all of that is in excess of the chronic exposure guideline. Again, that is the level at which aquatic life is affected. So that's bad. That's just around the corner, and that's a lot of the watershed. So this is really a large piece of why we're concerned about this. Next slide, please. The reason that we are targeting the province here, we started talking with federal representatives as well. Ontario is responsible for most of the salt that is applied in Canada. And also Ontario's water bodies have serious problems. It's our job to fix here in Ontario. So chloride concentrations in streams monitored increased twofold from the 1960s to now. The Ministry of Environment for Ontario monitored 400 streams and rivers. So that is pretty substantial data. And also, as the province is urbanizing rapidly and building more and more highways, it's really important that we get a handle on this before we wreck our water, because we know that chloride hotspots are around urban areas and highways. Next slide, please. So the reason that we are optimistic that this is a policy area that the province of Ontario could move on, well, look, there's a happy picture of Doug Ford with a tractor and people laughing. So these are people from Landscape Ontario. They had a Queen's Park Day. They've hired lobbyists. They're working with the Premier's office to advance limited liability legislation. We think that the province, we're told by Landscape Ontario that the province is working on this, but they're well, obviously we were just busy with an election and they're moving a bit slowly. We want to help encourage them to move more quickly on this file. So at this stage, I think I will explain a little bit what we're actually talking about, the limited liability. So we're really talking about just a piece of the area that salt is applied. So mostly we're talking about private parking lots, and that in the Lake Simcoe watershed, again, based on the Conservation Authority study, that represents 11% of the salt that is applied. So it's not the entire answer, but it would be a really good step in the right direction that has been supported by conservation authorities, Conservation Ontario, source water protection committees, et cetera. The thing is that the people who work in the snow and ice management sector are subject to massive potential lawsuits from slip and fall. And the only way they can guard against getting sued, either the landowner, say property owner of the parking lot, or the people who apply the salt, the only way they can prevent getting sued is by using, they say, twice as much salt as they know they need. So what they're asking for is limited liability protection so that they don't have to pay these exorbitant insurance costs. One company, for example, was quoted $100,000 just for insurance for last year. It's keeping a lot of people out of the sector, certainly keeping a lot of professionals out of the sector because they just can't afford the insurance. Next slide, please. So this is what Landscape Ontario is asking for. This is from their policy recommendations. So a year-round approach that involves the removal of hazards. So for example, if you're a parking lot owner and you have a downspout going in a particular place and it will always flow and then freeze and it will always be a hazard, well, in order to be part of this program, you have to eliminate that hazard. So that means redirecting your downspout.
Claire, just to jump in for a second, how much more time do you need?
Oh, okay. 2 more minutes.
Sure. Can I get a motion for 2 more minutes? Yeah, moved by, okay, we've got a mover and seconder. Thanks, Claire, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So basically, elimination of hazards, a standardized set of best management practices, and a certification program for all of the snow and ice management players that would be involved in this program. That's what they're asking for. It does require the Ontario government to to create a regulatory framework for that. So Doug Downey is the guy that needs to say, yes, let's do this. So we're, okay, we can go to the next slide. If you needed any more convincing about why this is an issue, Environment Canada has identified salt as toxic, but it's not as terrible a pollutant as many other things. So it never moves up the list of toxic substances that the government is going to actually really address. Next slide. And then finally, this is really about the environmental impact. So what you can see down here, just past the 100 on the bottom, that is 120. That's the level at which scientists so far have determined aquatic life is affected. But actually, the next slide will show you that in Muskoka, they're finding that at that level, actually quite a lot more species are affected. So this really does need to be investigated and managed by the province because what is happening is a lot of zooplankton, particularly Daphnia, are being affected by salt pollution. That forms a really important component of the bottom of the food chain. Zooplankton are a lot of what the fish eat. So if we don't feed the fish, we kind of don't have fish. And I would say we would agree, we want fish. We want to provide the conditions for fish to survive in our lakes and rivers. Next slide just has a picture of deteriorating infrastructure. So if that's what moves you, go for it. There's a lot of hidden costs of salt corrosion on public infrastructure, as well as, of course, harming our dogs' feet and wrecking our boots. So that's it for me. Our ask is that this committee support this resolution, and then the next step would be for us to do the same thing to the region of Durham and ask the region of Durham to say to the province of Ontario, could you please advance these items? And thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Hey, thank you very much for coming in. I don't see any hands. So thanks for the fulsome presentation. I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm going to look to Jason just to see if you agree. I'm wondering if we should, this is going to be legal. We're going to be requesting things from the Attorney General. What if we forward this to staff and from a legal perspective and to LSRCA from an environmental perspective on kind of creating a motion? This means a lot to me. Yeah, no, I know, but just to make sure that from a scientific perspective, we're completely aligned with LSRCA. They're sort of the experts on Lake Simcoe. This means a lot to me. I got sued for like $400,000 personally because of a slip and fall once for a personal property I had. We need to solve these issues. So just anyone open for a motion like that? Councilor Mackay? Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I'd also be interested in looking at this if we can have Nancy Taylor have a look at it as well, because the procurement process would mean that our costs should go down too. Because I know that a lot of these contractors hold massive insurance policies, and and I've heard it from them directly that it's just prohibiting. So I'd be interested in knowing sort of like the whole big picture on what that means to us as an organization, and I fully support this, fully.
Okay. All right. Can we get a seconder for that? Yeah, to Councillor Cook. And I think the two-part makes sense. Jason, are you okay with that?
Yes, and from a municipal standpoint for our roads and sidewalks, we actually already have a great mechanism, which might be a bit of a shortcut. I mean, I'm not going to speak to the technical issue of safety and salt and, what the alternatives are. But if the technical support is there for a solution, there is a regulation called the minimum maintenance standards, which can be changed by cabinet. So it's not new legislation, and it limits liability on municipal roads, sidewalks, highways, things like that. So that is a quick solution, and it's likely already under discussion, and that's the Ontario Good Roads Association. So we might be able to tweak this a bit in a way which could be much more quicker implemented municipally. The private sector side would have a little bit of a ways to go, but the MMS model as regulation is probably
the way to go on the private sector as well, but that type of regulation does not exist now.
Okay, no, and I think on the private sector, and the stat I heard when I was on the board of LSRCA was there's more salt used at the Newmarket Mall than the town of Newmarket used on all their roads or something. Like, it was astronomical. And like when you start walking through salt, when you're walking up to a business, and they're forced to do it because of slip and falls, like the costs are astronomical. But anyway, if you're okay with that running through your office just for a technical look, we have a motion on the floor. Any additional questions from council or from the committee? Don't see any. Claire, you seem to want to comment for a second.
Sure. Yeah, these are helpful ideas. Thank you. I just wanted to say I am going to the Conservation Authority on March 30th.
Mhm.
I'm going to be delegating to the Conservation Authority, if that helps with what you're trying to advance here.
No, I appreciate it. And I know you've spoken, I know we've talked about salt when I was on the committee, and we also talk about, I'm on TRCA now, so we talk about it there. So anyway, thank you.
They're not able to support motions like this, as far as I understand. TRCA has
okay.
not. That they've said to go to the councils.
Okay, hey, thank you. All right, any questions or comments on the motion? Do we want it recorded just to make sure we're good? Because of, yeah, back to staff and the LSRCA. Okay, sure, of course. Oh, just a second. Thanks. Go ahead.
Claire, the TRCA or CLOCA could support the direction in principle and send it off to municipalities.
We've been trying. We're going through Partners for Project Green and their executive committee, and we are on the agenda to speak to PPG executive committee in April. We've submitted all of our materials, and what they've told us is that the TRCA board wouldn't support a motion like this, but anyway, if you have a different pathway, I would be very open to it. What we're trying to achieve is just get a lot of municipalities to show that they care and are interested in this pathway as one of many to reduce salt pollution and to inspire the province to act. So whatever you think will work.
and I think part of the problem, and don't take me the wrong way here, Rescue Lake Simcoe is a lobby group that have done some pretty aggressive campaigns against a number of different individuals, and they're anti-nuclear. So that there's a bit of an issue with how they align with us.
Never ever talked about nuclear.
No, you didn't in this, but you do online. So not you, but your committee does. Your social media feed does.
Oh, not about nuclear.
You do.
Okay.
Whoever's doing your socials does, because you're also part of the Ontario Clean Energy Coalition or something. Anyway, we can talk offline, actually. But trust me, I know.
Yeah, so I still think, Claire, it's within the abilities of the conservation authorities to they don't approve it, they can recommend it to us. So I'll leave it. I don't sit on the conservation authorities, but we have a number of very skilled politicians in the region that sit on a number of conservation authorities. In fact, we have membership on all of them. So I'll leave it with them. But they can, I think they could come back that they recommend something without endorsing it. It's kind of complicated, but it's easy. Yeah, for my mind, it's not that difficult. But I'll leave it with the chair to navigate.
Yeah, again, and you can reach out to me directly if you want to chat about this one. Claire, I think you could find me pretty quick. Okay?
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. All right, so we do have a motion on the floor. Let's go recorded vote just to make sure we don't miss anyone. Okay, all in favor? Okay, so that carried unanimously. So, hey, thank you very much for coming in, Claire. I fully support the directions you're going on this. And my family's owned property on Lake Simcoe for 37 years. No, 47 years. So, yeah, long time. Great, thank you so much. All right, let me just wake up my iPad here so we can carry on with the agenda. All right, next we are on correspondence. Okay, so moved by Chair Henry. Oh, wait, There's only one, so move 7.1. Okay, questions or comments, all in favor? Oh, seconded by Tito. All in favor, it's carried. Okay, next we are down to, just a second. I think we're at report 8.2, correct? Okay, want to give me that one too, Mr. Chair? Okay, Tito, second. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Now we're at 9.1. Oh, we just dealt with that one. And then we're into the confidential report. Do we need to go into camera or are we good to move forward? Okay, so moved by Rhonda, seconded by Tito. Questions, comments? All in favor? That is carried. This is a really important one. We'll go to other business. Any other business? Seeing none, then even more important, date of the next meeting is April the 2nd. That's a Wednesday. And motion to adjourn. Moved by Chair Henry, seconded by Councillor Mulcahy. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, everyone. You like it?